welcome. Good afternoon. I really am so excited and so honored to be here. Thank you so much to the team for having me. And this year's theme is, you already know, from potential to position. And for me, I think it speaks directly to, the journeys of so many of us, how we all carry gifts and skills and passions. But, sometimes you need a helping hand. You need someone to say, okay, this is how you go about it. This is clarity. This is courage for your journey. This is positioning, to be able to turn that potential into impact and real life, tangible career opportunities and cold hard cash in your bank account. And I'll be your host, your moderator, guiding you through today's event. Excited to be here with you. Personally, I'm such a big fan of what Climber is doing. And over the course of the summit, we'll hear from leaders who have walked this path and will help us bridge the gap between where we are and where we are meant to be. Thank you for investing in yourself by being here, ultimately, because that's what you're doing. And I promise that the next couple of hours, however short, however long, will stretch your thinking, will open up your mind and open your eyes, equipping you to take the next big step in your career journey. Before we go on, before I introduce the convener and we go on with the amazing event for today, we'll be taking our opening prayers. So I'd like to hand over for that.
Hi, everyone. Thank you so much, Emem. Good evening once again. And without further ado, one of the things that we should know, I'm going to read the scripture, and that will be what will just guide us to, Philippians 4, verse 13 says, I can do all things through Christ who strengthens me. Proverbs 16:3 goes on to say, commit to the Lord whatever you do, and he will establish your plans. I would also read Ephesians 2, verse 10. It says, for we are God's handiwork, created in Christ to do good works, which God prepared in advance for us. And, tying it to what we're doing now, Early Career Summit is talking about, whatever our hands has found to do, whatever our heart has conceived to do. And that's what we're going to just pray about this evening. This training section, this summit, everything we're going to hear. Yes. So please, let's be in the mode of prayer. Heavenly Father, we thank you. We give you praise. We exalt you. We thank you for your love. We thank you for your mercies. We thank you for your goodness. We thank you for your kindness. We thank you for how far you have brought us. We thank you for the journey so far. We thank you for all the days where we did not know what we were doing, but you have just somehow magically led us. We thank you for the opportunities that you've brought our ways. We thank you for how we handled them. We thank you for even the opportunities that we missed. We thank you for everything. We thank you for school. You led us through school. You led us to NYC. You led us to get our first job, or even helping us navigate application stages right now. We thank you. Our hearts filled with so much gratitude. And at the same time, we thank you for this opportunity to learn, to experience guidance, to experience mentorship through Climber Advisories Early Career Summit 2025. We thank you. And Lord, we come by the blood this evening and we ask for mercy. If there be any way that we have fallen short of your glory, if there be any way that we have not been proper stewards of our work, because you said it in your word that our work is also an avenue of worth. If there be any way we have not honored you properly in the things that our hands are found doing, or we have lazied and not, gotten ourselves to do that which we ought to do, we ask for mercy this moment. We come by the blood and we plead the blood of Jesus over each and every one of us. We plead the blood of Jesus over the tablets of our hearts. We plead the blood of Jesus over our eyes, our ears, our mouth. We bring everything under alignment and the submission of our Lord Jesus. In the name of Jesus, as we welcome the Holy Spirit this evening, we welcome you into this program. We welcome you into this event. We ask that even though we might be virtual, but there is no distance in the realm of the Spirit. Brood over each and every one of us. Brood over each and every one of us in the name of Jesus. Meet us at our homes. Meet us on our way back from work. Meet us at our gyms. Meet us wherever we may be actually connecting and learning from this program in the name of Jesus. And we ask, oh God, as we embark on this, we ask that you give us wisdom and understanding. May your word, may the words being spoken be a foundation to empower us to new heights in the name of Jesus. May we find clarity of purpose. May we have the courage to pursue our dreams and aspirations. May we find words and wisdoms from people who have worked before us to guide us in the name of Jesus. But above all, may we glorify you. May your name be glorified. Above all, we covenant to return all glory to you, because this would be a catalyst for change, a catalyst for growth, a catalyst for experiencing new dimensions in our careers in the name of Jesus. Thank you, Lord. And we ask, oh Lord, the speakers, the panelists, make their tongues like that of the pen of a ready writer, that they will speak if one word, but it would mean multiple things to multiple individuals. From their words, it will solve age-long questions, problems, things, ideas will be ignited in the name of Jesus. Thank you, O God. Thank you, Father. We glorify your name, for in Jesus' precious name we have prayed. Amen and amen and amen. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Christy. Thank you, thank you, thank you. We've committed the day into God's hands, and we know that that's a safe place for the day to be in. We'll be moving on and diving right into the day's event. However, it's important that before we start, we have some direction. We hear from, the visionaries. We hear from the catalyst of this idea, of this vision of why we're here. And that's what this first session is about. And who better to do that than the convener of this Early Career Summit 2025, a remarkable leader that really does embody what it means to turn potential to position. I am privileged to know her personally from school, from uni, and just seeing how she has transformed and evolved over the years is such a joy to me. She's a legal strategist and operations lead with expertise in bridging law, enterprise operations, and social impact. She has built a career that blends strategic thinking with operational execution, and now she is bringing voices and ideas together to help emerging professionals like yourselves thrive. Ladies and gentlemen, please join me in welcoming the convener of the summit, Chegeme Asinobi.
Hello, everyone. Thank you so much. Thank you. Thank you for the warm welcome. Thank you. Okay, yeah, I'm glad to be here. Welcome, everyone. All all of us who have, made it to day one of the summit. You're very welcome. I hope you can see me well and hear me well as well. So yeah. This is the idea of this is I'll go straight to the point. Um, when we talk about when we bring up the conversation about um, productivity, when we bring up the conversation about youth development, when we talk about growth as individuals, it's very, very is a very, very pivotal conversation at this time. If you've been on the, especially on LinkedIn, if you've been on social media, you see how much the conversation right now is around um youth productivity, youth development, upskilling, um and how important it is for recent graduates who are coming into the job market, who are just starting out, how important it is for them to have a good head start. So you see conversations around internships, around volunteering, around opportunities. And it's pertinent that we have this conversation, because if we don't address this, this problem that we have, especially within the system that we exist, let me put it that way, or that we have, our environment, we would have issues. So the idea of this summit is to discuss these things that have been holding us back, young people, recent graduates, early career professionals, even mid-career professionals, but that's not the focus of the summit. The focus of the summit is on those who are fresh out of school, who are trying to find their path, who are not sure as to what step to take, the next step to take, or what to do, onwards. So the idea of this is to bring up this conversation. Let's have it. Let's find out, okay, what's the problem? What do we do about it? Is it from the individual? Is it from the government? Is it from the systems that we have? Is it from our educational system as well? One of our speakers will also come from that angle as we go. I think that's a day 2 session. We shouldn't miss it. But this conversation around, productivity, early career professionals, having a good head start. So fresh out of school, they are not confused, they are not unsure of what, the next step to take. And it's centered somewhat around, even though the core idea of this is, like I've been saying, is growth, development, productivity. Well, we've centered it somewhat around employment. Why? Because we know that at the core of a person is what they do, what you do with your hands. So what do you wake up to go to do? And what keeps you busy throughout the day. So, and we find that, okay, we have businesses, we have our 9 to 5, and all that. So that's a very pivotal part of, development as a person, as an individual, So it's very important that we talk about, even though we talk about, yes, productivity for individuals, your growth, your personal development, we also need to talk about, okay, how does this affect, what's the interplay between your personal growth and the job that you do? And, how can you grow in that job? Because you can't necessarily separate the two. You can't necessarily separate the two. So it's important that we have this conversation. And throughout this summer, to be having conversations around, growth within the workplace, how to scale, how to grow, within the workplace. We'll have on mentorship, we'll have even growing to executive positions. If you have desires to, be a manager, get to top leadership, climb the career ladder as much as you want. We have a session for that. We have sessions, so many sessions. If I say everything now, me just, so you find out as we go on. And this is very important because we need to have this conversation, and hopefully we come to a point where this doesn't even have to be talked about anymore. We find that people who just, who are young people, say 16, 17, 18, 19, it's very normal to have, at a certain point as a young person, to have a certain level of confusion, in quotes, let me put it that way, or you're unsure, unclear, or what you're supposed to do, long term. It's very normal. But when that is prolonged, then there's a problem, and then it needs to be solved. So the idea of this summit too as well is to, as you hear the speakers speak, you have better clarity on what you want to do long term. You probably see yourself in some of these speakers. Yes, they've gone ahead, they've grown, they've gone far, but you likely see yourself, in these speakers, because we have a variety of speakers from different areas of profession. So don't just attend to fulfill all righteousness, or because let me just join and just hear, but actually listen and see how you can connect to what is being said and what you can take from it to help you, as a person. I've spoken with a couple of young people, and I personally whenever I hear like the frustration, whenever I hear the frustration is the best word. Whenever I hear the frustration about, the uncertainty, and secondly, the lack of opportunities. These two things are, have been like the consistent issues around, the problems that recent graduates have. And, you know, if early career professionals have a different kind of problem, they're looking to grow and all that. And, different graduates and then early career professionals. And we brought all of these conversations together for this summit. And I know that, as we go on just these 2 days, Friday, Saturday, when we hear the speakers, you will find yourself, whether you just left um, the university like this July, or you've been working for 2 years, there's something that you're going to learn. This summit is for you, and it was built for you, it was created with you in mind. And I'm sure that you learn a lot and you go home with a lot when you leave here. So welcome everybody. Welcome speakers. Welcome the attendees. We look forward, and I look forward as well, because I know I'm going to have a lot to learn as well. Listening to, you never know too much. You never know too much. We need to have a lot to learn from each speaker that speaks on this during this summit and on this platform. So welcome everybody. Thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you so, so much, Chigame. Thank you so much. I feel very grounded, now in the vision and the purpose of this summit. And I think truly this event is a timely one. We'll be moving into our first keynote session now. And honestly, given the topic, I think it couldn't have come at a better time, because in today's world, we know that career paths are no longer linear like they used to be. There's limitless opportunities, but then it comes at that cost of the challenge of identity, who am I as a professional? What do I stand for? How do I define my career in a way that sets me apart, right? And I know these are some questions that some of our attendees might have had prior. And to guide us through this, we have a seasoned human resources and organizational development professional that is passionate about helping individuals and organizations unlock their full potential and achieve measurable transformation. She has experience leading strategic HR initiatives to drive growth, and has been able to blend practical expertise with a deep, deep commitment to excellence. Tracy has advised leaders across sectors, enabling them to build high-performing cultures, strengthen capabilities, and navigate change with agility. She will be speaking on the topic, defining your career identity in an era of limitless opportunities. That's an exciting one, right? And you can expect to walk away with clarity on how to anchor your career identity. Ladies and gentlemen, please help me welcome Tracy Afolabi-Johnson. Welcome.
Thank you so much, Emem. Thank you. And you look very beautiful, by the way.
Oh, thank you.
And thank you, Chigeme. Chigeme holds a very special place in my heart, and I'm really glad to see this happening. I mean, we're in a world where everyone is trying to find their identity. We have a lot of career opportunities out there, where it really starts with knowing what you really want to do. And so when I saw this topic, when I saw the summit and the topic, I was really glad, because we have young people out there that are actually confused. There are lots of options. People are saying, why don't you try this? Can't you do that? And people are actually confused and doing what just comes to their table. But it's very important that we know who we are, especially as it relates to our careers. So I'm really glad that this is coming up now. It's really, really timely. And I trust God, and I like that we prayed before starting, and we trust God that everyone would leave here with what God has in store for them, that would chart the course of their careers. It doesn't matter what level you are. I know that God has something in store for everyone. I know I have limited time, so I'll be sharing my screen shortly. Just please confirm. You can confirm. Let me know when you can. Just, okay. Okay, just give me a couple of minutes. Okay. Okay, can you see my screen now? Okay, great, great. All right then. All right, so like I mentioned, we're just going to be talking about everything that has to do with our careers, things that would help us define our career identity. I mean, when I saw the topic, defining your career identity, what came to my mind was, who am I? What do I want to do? What do I bring to the table? What opportunities do I have to offer? And really, like it says, we're in a period where there are several opportunities, there are several things that we can do. There's AI, there's technology. I mean, there are several opportunities right now at our fingertips, and it's possible that we get confused. So it starts with us knowing who we are, what we really want to do, what value we're offering, what we're bringing to the table, so that we can take advantage of the right opportunity and then we can add value. I really wish I could engage with us, but as much as possible, we'll be using emojis. I know that there's a question and answer section here. So if I'll be asking a couple of questions, you can just drop your comments there. I believe that we can see it on our end, and then I'll read it out. So it should be as engaging as possible as this platform would allow. So I'm going to be asking a question first. When your name gets mentioned in the room, what do you want people to say? If Tracy shows up in a room, what are those 3 or 4 words that you would like people to say? I'll just give us 30 seconds. I'll be checking the Q&A box to see if there's any comments from us. When you're in a room, what would you like people to say about you? What 3 words would you want to be associated with you? You can think through it for 30 seconds and then you can take it down. If there's no response, we'll move on, but it's something I want us to think about. You're in a room, they're introducing any one of us, introducing Tracy. What are those 3 words or 4 words you want people to say about you? Is there anybody that wants to drop something in the comment section?
Hello, everyone. Your mics can be unmuted, so you can speak if you
great.
have to say anything. If you want to speak, right? So
okay. For example, Tracy is an executor. Tracy lights up the room. Tracy knows how to get something done. Tracy knows how to solve problems. So if nobody says anything, it's something you should write down and something you should reflect over. If you're in a room, what are those 3 or 4 words that you want people to say about you? So really looking at everything, the world of work that we are in now.
sorry, Tracy. Sorry to interrupt you. Someone raised her hand. I think Akudo raised her hand. Unmuted.
Okay, great. All right. Okay, can we hear you?
Echeme too, as well.
I think we can actually move on. Maybe I'll just take the time to reflect on the 3 or 4 words that I would love to.
Okay, all right, great. Who else wanted to say something? Just Akudo.
Echeme raised his hands.
Okay, can we hear Echeme?
I wanted to say I want to be remembered as an exceptional person.
Great, 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 great. I love that as an exceptional person. And a lot would have to go into that. People, you would have had to define who HMA is. So we're just going to go on. And for every one of us, it's good we write this down and actually reflect over that. Who do you want to be known as? You know, what would you like people to say when your name is mentioned in a room? So, I mean, we're in an era where there are several opportunities. Like I think I mentioned that in the beginning, there's AI now, artificial intelligence. We have AI helping us do a lot of things. You know, we have technology. I know a friend that gets to work, she has a remote, she's in Nigeria, but she works remotely and she's earning in dollars. So we have global opportunities, remote opportunities. We have people that are working 9 to 5s already early in their career, but they also have side hustles. You know, we have people that are entrepreneurs, they have their own businesses. So we have limitless opportunities right now. And it's actually an exciting moment that we're in where we can get to do several things right where we are, where we can be working in 9 to 5 and we can do other things, where we have different career opportunities that are springing forth every day. Every day you're hearing, even in the world of AI now, I'm sure we've heard that we have what we call prompt engineers, just knowing how to use prompts, you know, use prompts to generate the right questions and answers that we're looking out for and solutions. So we have several opportunities right now. But the truth is, it can actually be very overwhelming. Imagine you have several choices that you have to make and you don't know the right choice to make. And I'm sure that some of us can relate. I mean, when I was in the early days of my career, I started off as an admin assistant and then I moved into operations before HR. And then I didn't quite have it defined. It felt like people were moving me or the company I was moving me. Okay, you're great here, move here. You're great here, move here. But I didn't quite have it defined. And you would hear, oh, try this, oh, try that. So it can get to be very, very confusing. And I know that it's possible some of us have actually been in that position. I'm going to ask again and again, know that this is it's a vulnerable space. We're at different stages in our careers here. Everyone on this platform, some of us have skilled, some of us are still navigating that path. So it's a platform where we can actually be vulnerable and share with each other because I believe that in sharing, that's how we actually get better. So just to ask a question, how many of us have ever felt confused about what direction to take in our careers? How many of us, honestly? You know, you've been overwhelmed by your parents have told you this, or your friends have said, this is what is happening, or you've heard in school, this is what is happening, or even in the office, I heard that this degree, this certification is really great to have. How many of us have ever felt confused and overwhelmed by several career options or advice? You know, it can be with a show of hands. For me, I have actually been there. I have been there, I've experienced it, and thankfully God has helped me out of that stage. But just to hear from us, you can just use an emoji, and if you haven't, awesome. But if you have, can you just, you know, a show of hands where you've been in that place where you've been confused? Great, I can see some emojis here. So I'm sure, great. So you see, we can all relate. We can all relate. Every one of us have actually been there at one or two phases of our careers. But the truth is, it's great that this is happening, and it's great that we're going to be connecting with people that will be sharing real-time experiences because we can't come out of there, and we're going to see that moving on would have a clear picture of how we're going to navigate the path and know what opportunities to take advantage of in this world of several opportunities that we have. You know, and this is why it's important that we have a clear understanding of who we are. This is why career identity actually matters, because it helps you have a particular focus. It helps you know what exactly to take and what to turn down. Because once your career identity is not clearly defined, you take anything. Okay, come and try this and you're taking it. Try this and you're taking it. You know, when you have your career identity defined, people know when to call you. They know what opportunities to bring your way. They know what to call you for. It builds credibility. You know, it also brings opportunities. You get to know how to identify opportunities. Because the truth is, if you do not define yourself, people will define you. People will start telling you what you can do and what you cannot do because you don't have it figured out. And they might get it wrong because no one knows you as best as you do. So it's very important that you understand who you are and understand what your career identity is. Your career identity is that opportunity that you get to define your own story, to know what you value, to know what your strengths are, to know what you have to offer so that others do not do it for you. It helps you know what to say yes to. It helps you know down, like I said earlier. It also gives you confidence. Yes, you get very confident when you know what your career identity is and you don't compare yourself with people. That's what happens when people compare themselves with other people. You're in the office, you're wondering why this person is this way, and that comparison comes in. It mostly happens because you've not understood who you are. You've not understood what you are out there to achieve. There's something that my pastor's wife says it, or she says, stay on your lane. God has called us, and I'm going to be bringing in God in our conversation. God has called us to walk specific paths in life. Every one of us, we have clear purposes that God has called us to fulfill. So what Tracy has been called to do is very different from what Akudo has been called to do. What Akudo's path is very different from HMS path. So that's why it's very important that you understand your path, you understand who you are. And our careers are not different from purpose. It's all intertwined. Our career is a tool for us to achieve purpose. So everything is all linked. That's why it's very, very important that we understand what our career identity is. Again, like I said earlier, it helps you also know what opportunities to take and the opportunities to, because not every opportunity is meant for you. Not everything that is brought to you is meant for you. So once you have a clear identity of your career, you know what to take advantage of. And also people know who Akudo is known for. I don't know, I keep on saying Akudo and HME because I can see you just on my screen. People know what HME is known for. People know what we are meant for. So that's why it's very, very important that our career identity is very well defined. And so I came up with something called the career identity framework that helps you know who you are. It helps you, and I really hope that we're taking notes because again, there's so many things we can't discuss here, but there's so many reflections that you would have to go back to make. So I call it the career identity framework, and it's a merge of three. The first is who you are. The second is what you bring. The first is who you are. The second is how you show up. Yes, and the third is what you bring. And when you look at who you are, we're looking at things around your values. What are your values? What are those values that you portray? We're looking at your strengths and we're looking at your passion. When you look at how you show up, we're looking at visibility. What value are you bringing to the table? How are you showing up? We're looking at your reputation. When Akudo is not in the room, what are people saying about Akudo? Yes, I can see Chiemena now. When Chiemena is not in the room, what do people say about Chiemena? When Christy or Ogechi or Ogechuku is not in the room, what are they saying? So that talks about your reputation and then finally your brand. And we're going to really unpack each of this. We're going to unpack each of this. And then finally, we're looking at what you bring to the table. So we're looking at your skills, we're looking at your expertise, and we're looking at your results. What are those skills that you've gathered over the years? Every one of us, we have skills that we have built from school, in the university, in the course of our jobs. We've had skills that we've built over time, right? We also have expertise, things that we are very, very good at, and results that we have brought to the table. So when we merge these three, that central point is what your career identity is. You merge who you are, you merge how you show up, you merge what you bring to the table. That central point, that's this, I call it the sweet spot. That's your career identity. So as we go through each part, we're going to break each one of them down. I want us to take notes. I want us to reflect. I want us to jot down our answers. Some of us have done this before. Some of us already have an idea of all of this, but this is a fresh start. So I want us to take notes and jot things down. Funny enough, I'm also learning in the process because one thing about sharing is as you share, you find out that, oh, this is an area I need to pay more attention to. So as I'm sharing, I'm also learning in the process, right? So, and I believe that I'll be learning from us too, whenever we get to speak based on the questions that will be thrown out there. Okay, so let's start with who you are. This is actually discovering your core. This is discovering who you are. Who is Ogechi? Who is Ogechuku? And where it's about self-awareness. Self-awareness is very important. I mean, there's this data that says that many people have forgotten the particular percentage, are not self-aware. Self-aware means, what are your values? And I really trust that we are reflecting. What are the values that matter most to you? For me, one of them is integrity. I want people to say that if Tracy says something, I can vouch for Tracy. So that is a value that is very, very important. It's one of my strong values, right? And so I'm sure we all have different values. If you don't have, it's something that it's probably in there, but we've not thought deeply about it to document it. So it starts with that. What are your values? What are those values that matter to you? I mentioned for me, one of them is integrity. Another for me is empathy. I can go all out for people. Another thing for me is empathy. Empathy is also a very strong value for me. So what are those values that matter to you? I want us to write them down. What values matter to you? And the second is, what are your strengths? What are your strengths? What are your top 3 strengths? I believe we're taking notes. What are those things that people have said? Ogechi, you're very good at that. Ogechuku, you're very good at that. There's some things that people would have said you're very good at. Justice, you're awesome at that. Praise, oh my goodness, praise handles this and I can go to sleep. So what are your top 3 strengths? You know, what are those things that energize you? I hope we're taking notes. So what values guide your choices? What are your top 3 strengths? And what excites you? What is that thing? You don't have to get paid. When you're doing this thing, you are excited, you are happy, you have fun. What are those things that excite you constantly, consistently? What are those things that energize you? What are your values? What values guide the things that you do? Before you make a decision, these are the values that guide me. What are they? And what are your top 3 strengths? Because if you don't know these things, you'll be chasing something else. If you don't know these things, you'll be comparing yourself with someone else if you don't know these things, because these are the things that actually shape you. These are the things that help you discover who you are. So I'll just give an example. For example, early in my career, I realized that for me, I like being able to impact people. I've realized that, and that's why I'm in HR. I love it when I engage you and I see that you're actually performing better at your job. It gives me so much joy. And I realized that these are one of the things that actually shaped my career, that I'm working with people and through people, and then I can see impacts both in their lives and in the organization. So that actually helped me discover the things that bring joy to me. Engaging young people, we're having conversations, and you're like, oh, Tracy, thank you for that. That really helped me. That has given me a sense of direction. These are the things that guide me. And so I realized that I'm in the right field, HR. And recently I've been delving more into organizational development, because the more people are getting better at their jobs, the more the organization is achieving their objectives. So this helped me understand why I realized that I love everything that has to do with OD, building organizations through the people. So I hope we've taken notes of what our top 3 strengths are, the values that guide our choices, and the things that excite us consistently. So at this point, I'm going to ask us, is there anyone that wants to share? Remember, this is a very, very safe ground. We can all share, at least I shared. So is there anyone that wants to share? Anything around your strengths, anything around your values, or anything that excites you consistently? We can unmute anyone that wants to share. Anyone? It's not possible, though. At least one person or
Hi,
two.
can you hear me?
Oh, okay, yes, we can hear you now.
Hello. Sorry, can you hear me?
Yes, yes, yes.
Okay, okay. So I think I'm going to start with what excites me consistently.
Okay.
It took me a while to find that out. And the first is, it's actually volunteering. I found out that most of the time when I dedicate my time and services, especially to charitable causes, I tend to have this form of this kind of self-fulfillment. And this is one I am very much aware of, right? I don't know, I'm still in the process of discovering myself. Self-awareness is not something you get all at once, but I know that volunteering for charitable causes excites me consistently, regardless of how little the impact is or how huge it is. It's something that excites me. And what values guide my choices? Uh, my value system, I think one of the most important ones is trustworthiness. I people tend to like believe what I say, even in the office space. I mean, when someone comes to work and I compliment them, I'm like, "Oh, you actually look very nice today," or like just a random compliment. But most of the times they go, for you to actually say this, it means that yes, that is actually the case. Like even if every other person says it and didn't say it and you say it, I believe you. And that's I always tend to be trustworthy. When I say things to people, it is actually the case. I'm not the kind that will say something to you and you have to go out there to verify. And I would say integrity and I I don't know if being genuine is part of it, but that is one of them. And my top three strengths, for one, is writing, um, strengths, yeah, writing, and I don't know how to put this, but it's like um, friends really come to me for, did I say, advice, or when they are in certain kind of situations, they usually reach out to me. So I don't know the right word for it, but yeah, I think it's a strength that people actually see me as someone reliable. I think reliable can go in that case. So yeah.
Awesome, awesome. And thank you so much for sharing. And I love that you said volunteering. Volunteering is actually a strong skill. It is actually a strong skill, and it's something that people should learn to do more often, because the more we volunteer for the right causes, we're building skills and expertise, right? And we're actually impacting and adding value. I was going to ask you, why do you love to volunteer?
Okay. So I think one of the reasons why I love to volunteer is the fact that I see the impact that very little actions could have, especially in like communities and stuff. And I see the happiness it brings to these people. And just by sharing in their happiness, I'm already happy and satisfied. So that's one of the reasons why I volunteer.
Awesome, awesome. Thank you very much for sharing, Akudo. Thank you. Does anyone else want to share before we move on? Is there anyone else? All right. Okay, so again, like I said earlier, I believe that we've all taken notes to take down what our top three strengths are, the things that excite us consistently, and also the values that guide our choices. And then the next in the career framework is, what are those things that you bring to the table? I called it your skills tools box. Again, we need to write these things down. We're reflecting as we're going on. Remember, I'm setting the foundation for the other speakers that will be coming up. So I want us to reflect deeply and take notes. What do we bring to the table? What you bring to the table is that value that you deliver. It's beyond your job title if you're working already, or it's beyond that thing that particular job that you're chasing. It's beyond that. Actually, this actually speaks to the problems that you solve, and at different levels in life, even in the university, right? There are problems that we've solved. There are results that we've probably created. So what are the skills that you're currently known for that you have? What are those problems you can solve? I want us to think and reflect deeply. What are the problems that you can solve? This makes up your skills tools box. And what skills do you feel or know you need to build in the next 1 to 3 years based on this reflection? So what are those skills that you are currently known for? What problems can you solve? And what skills have you thought about deeply, knowing that you have to build these skills in the next 1 to 3 years? And there are several skills, things around communication, things around AI or data literacy, things around being adaptable, collaboration, project management. These are skills that are in demand everywhere. I mean, for Akudo that just shared that she loves to volunteer. When you volunteer, I'm sure you volunteer for projects, right? And think about a skill like project management, because once you're volunteering for a project, you have a particular role to play for that particular project that you're volunteering for. So a skill like project management would come to play. And project management right now is a very, very critical skill that we need in different careers, different kinds of careers. We need a project management skill. So you think about that skill as a skill that you want to build in the next 1 to 3 years. That's an example. So I want us to think about it. What skills are you currently known for? What problems can you solve? What skills must you bring to the table, build in the next 1 to 3 years? And I also want to add, that's why it's also very important that we're constantly upskilling. That's the world of work that we are in today. Once you've understood what your strengths are, the values that you're bringing to the table, the things that excite you, it's also good to keep on upskilling. There are some skills, like skills I just mentioned, like AI or data literacy, project management. There are skills like that are very, very important and crucial for any career field. So if you're applying for any kind of job, these are skills that they would ask. Do you know how to do this? Do you have a project management experience or certification? Or do you know how to manage projects? How great are your communication skills? So these are skills that we need to build constantly on the go. So have we ever taken, if you've taken an online course, just a quick poll, if you've taken an online course in the past 1 year, can we see a show of hands? If you've taken any online course in the past 1 year, I won't say 6 months, now 1 year, a show of hands. How many of us have taken any course to upskill ourselves, to improve ourselves in the past 1 year? Or we can just use an emoji, any emoji. You've taken any course, online course in the past year. Great. Awesome, awesome. I saw 3 emojis, 4. All right. I love that. And I'm a very, very big believer. Thank you so much. And well done. I love that we are constantly improving ourselves. It's also very important. Again, you can improve yourselves on skills that are relevant in any field at all. You can go online to search for skills that are very relevant. It's always good that we constantly improve ourselves. And then the final circle in the career framework is how you show up. And this is actually where many professionals drop the ball, because the truth is, some people can be very skilled, like you can be very skilled, have great expertise, know how to solve problems, constantly upskilling yourself. But if nobody sees you, then it won't matter. And I had to learn this where I'm working currently. In my previous job, I liked being behind the scenes, just doing my work, and please just don't bring it to the forefront. Let me do my work and send it. Some other person can speak for me and all of that. But moving into currently, I work in a consulting firm. Switching into consulting, I realized that it's very important that you're visible. And I learned that from my partner that I report to. He mentioned visibility is very, very, very important in the world of work, where you're sharing your value constantly and people are seeing the things that you're bringing to the table. Because if no one sees you, then your skills will not matter. I'll take it again. If nobody sees you, your skills will not matter, even as Christians. That's why the people of the world, the Bible says that they are shrewd. Christians can be very calm and gentle, but no, God wants us. He wants his children to always show up. Say, shine your light, the world see your light. It's in the Bible, right? The world has to see your light. We are the light of the world, and light cannot be hidden. You don't put a light under a bushel. I'm sure we're very, very familiar with that verse. So your light has to shine. People have to see the skills that you have. So how we get to show up in meetings, how we show up online, how we communicate, it either strengthens or weakens your career identity, because the more you speak up, the more you're confident in who you are, the more you're articulating the values that you have, the more you're articulating the things that you have deposited on your inside. So you cannot be quiet. You cannot be silent. Let's all show up. It's very important that we show up. The more we show up, the stronger we become, the stronger we are, the more we are strengthening our career identity. Again, you can have values, you can have skills, you can have all of these things, but if I don't see them, I don't know what you have. So visibility is about sharing the things that God has put on your inside. It's about sharing the things that you have. And then we're talking about reputation. Reputation is how people get to describe you when you're not in the room. You know, if Ogechi is not in the room, what are people saying? Are people saying, she's so lazy, or that person is very lazy, I can't trust that person to work, or I want this person to work with me, I want this person on my team, I can't trust this person with this because this person is XYZ. That's reputation. So reputation is about, it's really how people describe you when you're not in the room. And then the final is consistency. Consistency is aligning your actions with your brand. That's consistency. Let your words, the things that you say, let your actions, the things that you do, and let your presence, your charisma, your aura, let everything be in alignment. And that it's also, we can also call that integrity, so that they're not saying this person says this thing and then the actions are saying something else. No, your words, your actions, and your presence have to be in alignment. And there's something I actually did recently. I went on Google, to just check out what Google say about me. And I was actually happy, because we're going to talk about how we can actually show up. I had to turn off my alarm, apologies. So we're going to talk about how we have to ensure that we are constantly showing up. We're going to talk about that. So and it's an exercise we should all practice. When you just put your name on Google, what will Google say about you? What are the things that you've done or put out there? It's part of the things that are actually saying, this is what people are saying about me. This is what LinkedIn or the internet is saying about me. So how you show up: visibility, reputation, and consistency. Very, very, very important. And really, I don't know how many of us, I think I wanted to ask that in the beginning, but I forgot where we are. Are some of us working? Are some of us searching for a job? Are some of us just fresh graduates? I know that we have different of these target audiences here, but I want us to think of someone that always delivers at work. And I'm sure you have people that they're always talking about at work. What do people actually say about them? When you think of that person that people are always talking about, what are the things that they say about them? Some might be negative and some might be positive. That's reputation in action. That's the person's reputation, what people say about them. So like that liner on my slide here, are you invincible or are you unforgettable? Which do you want to be? Do you want to be invisible or do you want to be unforgettable, that people always remember who you are for good? I want us to reflect over that. Remember, this is a reflection time. So I want us to reflect over that. So we're just going to go right into the next. So with so many opportunities, like we said in the beginning, there are several opportunities at our fingertips. We're seeing this here, we're seeing that here, several opportunities to pursue. How do you get to decide? How do you get to decide? And we're going to be using the filter test. So in making any career decision, know that every opportunity that comes your way is not your opportunity. We said that in the beginning, that it's important that you understand who you are, know your career identity, so that you know the right opportunity to take advantage of. I mean, I had this job offer recently, and I reflected, I thought about it. It didn't sit well with me. If I did not understand what I was looking out for, I would just jump at it. There's something they say in pidgin, everywhere belle face. I don't know if you've heard that before. I would just jump at it. But no, I had to reflect and say, nah, this is not for me. And that's because I've grown to that point where I know what I am. I know what my career identity is. I know how it aligns with my purpose. So I won't just jump at anything. Money is important, but right now, my career identity is in alignment, is in sync with my purpose. So I know what to take and what not to take, right? So know that every opportunity is not your opportunity. So you have to use a filter. When there's an opportunity that comes your way, you need to ask yourself, does this align with my values? That's why we asked that question in the beginning. Who you are has to be in alignment with the opportunity that you're taking advantage of, that you're leveraging, that you're holding and running with. So you have to ask that question. Does this align with my values? That's the first question that you have to ask. And then you also have to ask, does this build on my strengths? If I take this opportunity, will I get stronger, right? Is it going to build on my strengths? strengthen my expertise? You have to ask that question. And then you also have to ask the question, does this opportunity move me closer to my goals? So these are the 3 questions that you have to ask. Does it align with my values? Does it build on my strengths? Or does it move me closer to my goals? And trust me, if it does not tick at least 2 out of these 3, then that may be a distraction, distracting you from what your core is. So again, I want us to reflect. Some of us are considering 1 or 2 opportunities right now. I'm very sure of that. Right now, there are 1 or 2 opportunities that you're considering. I want us to ask ourselves these questions. I mean, in the first 5 years of our career, it's very okay to explore. I mentioned I was an admin assistant first, then I moved into operations, before venturing into HR, which is where I am currently. So in the first 5 years, people try out different things. They do different things, but it's also important that you are trying out those different opportunities, reflecting purposefully. You can try different projects, you can try different industries, you can even try different roles. It's very okay to explore in the first few years of your career, but you have to do it purposefully. You have to reflect after each step. When you try out this, think about it. What did you learn? What are the strengths you discovered in the course of this that I was doing in this 1 year, spending 1 year on this job? What are the things I discovered about myself? What did I learn? What will I take forward? What are the things I'm going to drop? Because you realize that sometimes this is not for me, and you drop that. So that reflection has to constantly happen. And that's how you keep on building clarity, right? Around what you want to do, who you are, and the things you want to pursue. That's very important. So I think I have little time left, but we're going to be done pretty soon. I want us to be very, very practical right now. So we're going to write our career identity statement. Yes, we're going to also build a skills roadmap. These are the things that you can do to move from potential to position. What are the things we can do now? We're going to write a career identity statement. Then we're going to build a skills roadmap based on our career identity statement. What are those skills that we want to build in the next 1 to 3 years? Then it's also important that we cultivate the right relationships. I know some of us here would have mentors. We can never, ever go wrong with having the right mentors. We can never go wrong with having the right peers that we connect with. We can never go wrong with having the right sponsors, right? Sponsors are people that speak for you when you're not in the room. That's what sponsors mean. So we need to cultivate the right relationships. And then remember I said something earlier. I said, if you put your name on Google, what will Google say? So practice visibility habits. It's important that, I don't know how many of us engage on LinkedIn, but LinkedIn is a very great platform to keep on learning and sharing. It's a great way to share assignments that you do, share projects. I take advantage of LinkedIn a lot. It can either be something I learned while reading a book, and I share my thoughts on LinkedIn, and people are engaging. I know how LinkedIn works. The more you keep on engaging on LinkedIn, the more you're building a community, the more you're getting more engagements, the more people are saying, oh, who is that person? Oh, this person has something to offer. That's a way to be visible, to practice visibility. We keep on sharing, thoughts on LinkedIn. So we're going to write a career identity statement. Then you're going to build a skills roadmap. So e.g., this is my career identity. This is the path I want to take. What are those skills I want to have built between now and the next 3 years? So you know what exactly it is you're focused on, those skills that you want to build. Some of us have mentors, some of us don't have mentors, but you're also saying, based on this path I want to take, who is that one person, or who are those people I need to work with? Those are your peers now that would help me refine and keep on pursuing those goals I want to achieve. Who are those mentors that have gone ahead of me that I can keep on learning from constantly to become that person I want to be, so that my identity is really, really clear and I'm achieving those goals. That has to be clear. And then, like I mentioned, practicing visibility habits, right? So we're going to look at how to write a career identity statement. These are 2 examples. You can say, I help organizations to build strong people strategies through HR transformation. Pardon me, because that's me. So I love to help organizations build strong people strategies through HR transformation. Another career identity statement can be, I help. So you're helping who? Who are you helping? Right? Then what are you helping them to achieve? And how are you helping them achieve that? The second example is I help businesses grow revenue. How? By creating compelling brand stories. So that's a career identity statement. And when I say I help organizations build strong people strategies through HR transformation, I can now think through and know the kind of skills I need to build. If I want to actually build people strategies, I know that I need to be strong when it comes to organizational development. I need to be strong when it comes to critical thinking. I know those skills I need to build constantly, right? So I want us to draft our own statements. I don't know if it's something we can do now. So where we are, I want us to think through it in the next 1 minute, right? And again, would ask one or two of us to share. I want you to draft your own career identity statement. Who do you help? What do you help them achieve? And how do you help them achieve that? I'll just give us 30 seconds to 1 minute. If it's something you can just quickly draft, awesome. If it's something you want to go back to think through and draft, then that's really fine. I wish I had music playing in the background. Just be sure that we're still together. Can I see emojis? Let me be sure we're all still very much connected. Okay. Awesome. Awesome. Great. So I've not heard, Uchechuku has not said anything yet. Praise. Ogechi, Justice, Jennifer. So who wants to share? Who wants to share? It doesn't have to be perfect, trust me. You still need to go back to think through it. But who wants to just share something that they've noted down? What's your career identity statement? Anybody? Anybody? Nobody's saying anything.
Maybe they need some more time. I don't know.
Okay. Is that it? Do we have that? Is that it? Do we need more time? To be sure. Chikeme said we need more time. Okay. But just promise me that you're going to go back actually to write your statements. I want to be sure we're going to do that. It's very, very important that we write down our career identity statements. Okay, great. All right. Okay, so I think I already shared that in the course of my career, I wasn't quite sure. And even while I worked, the truth is I actually worked where I was for about 8 years. Yes, I was there for 8 years, but I knew that there was something more. And so I resigned and I had to reflect a whole lot. I had to reflect. It was a soul searching moment for me. For 1 year, I was away from a job. I was just volunteering. I was serving in my church. I even actually took a certification in that 1 year. I just wanted to define what my next move would be. And then I knew that at that point, I had to strengthen my HR expertise. Where I was, yes, I was doing HR, but I didn't quite have the required skills I would have wanted. There were other things I knew I needed to build for my career. And so I decided to switch and move into consulting. And then even moving into consulting, the first few months, I was just observing and learning. But I discovered that the more I started engaging on projects and assignments, I started discovering that I actually love to bring solutions to the table. I love coming into a place, working with the clients, and then I'm seeing that things are changing. Sometimes it might not even be about the overall organization, but engaging with people in the course of the job, things are getting better, right? I discovered that it gives me great joy when I'm on assignments and that assignment succeeds, bringing in great execution. And I never knew that I had those strong execution skills until I started doing all of these different projects. So there was clarity. I started getting clarity on what I love to do, getting clarity that I love to see that things are getting done. Even beyond that, I love to work with people to get things done. It also gives me great joy when when we're working together as a team and we're achieving success. I believe it's not just about one person, but we're a team bringing in success to any project. I discovered this about myself. So it gave me positioning. I started positioning myself well when I started discovering these things about myself. And I'm not quite there yet. But it's a journey. I want us to also know that our career is a journey. At different points, we keep on evolving and evolving and evolving. So Tracy is still evolving, but I'm sure of where I am now. And I trust that it'll keep on getting clearer and clearer and clearer. So that's it for me. I had to take a step back. I had to reflect. I had to now decide on what I really wanted to do, the things I wanted to deepen my expertise in. And that's where I am now. And now it's so clear to me what I'm doing. I know where I'm headed. That's where I am now. I know that I love OD assignments, organizational development. I know I love that. I know I love to work with people, walk through people, help them achieve their goals and help organizations achieve their goals. It gives me so much joy. And this has positioned me for projects and opportunities. And right where I am, there's some things that will come and I'll be like, nah, I'm not interested in this because I know what I'm about. That's where I am now. So from moving from a place of being confused to getting clear and then opportunities. Now I get opportunities, to come and share. I get opportunities on the kind of jobs I should do. There's some things that you bring my table now or bring my way now, I will turn it down because I know that that's not me. So that's what happens when you're clear on what your career identity is. And I know that after this summit, everyone is going to get that clarity that they need at the different phases that we're in. So the truth is, we all have potentials, right? Every one of us, we have things that have been deposited on our insides. We have all our strengths, we have our values, we have the things that we love to do. Some of us have an idea of the career path we want to take, but potential actually means nothing until you are positioned. I want us to remember that your potentials mean nothing until you are rightly positioned. I want us to remember that it's not just about a CV, a profile. I'm going to look for this job. I want to do this. It's beyond that. Remember that word reputation, what people say about you when you're not in the room. You're building a reputation for yourself. So it's important that we define it. It's important that we build it. And it's important that we constantly show up. So beyond all them skills, beyond your values, be very intentional about your career, about what you're defining. Move from that place of potential to positioning yourself. Remember that your career identity, when you have it defined, it's actually that bridge between who you are currently and the opportunities that await you. Remember that your career identity would help you identify the opportunities that you need to take advantage of. So really, after all of this, if you are committed to defining your career identity this year, we have October, November, December, 3 months to go. If you're committed to defining your career identity this year, not just this year, even before this summit comes to an end, I want you to either raise your hand or share your emoji. If we're making that commitment together, that we're going to define our career identity before the summit is over. Awesome. I can see the emojis. Great. I'm glad that we're making this commitment together. So really, thank you very much. I'd really love to see us make tangible growth. I would love to hear your questions. I would love to hear, I know we couldn't say so many things because of the time. I'd love to even hear some of the career identities that you've, the statements that you've drafted, your career identity statement that you've drafted. So if we can't share our key takeaways now because of the time, I'd like to hear from us. You can connect with me on LinkedIn. You can share with me. You can, even share through Chikeme and she'll share with me. I'll just really love to see that. This session, this next 2 days has been very impactful. So thank you very much. Again, thank you to the convener of this summit. I believe that this is going to be worth the while and there'll be testimonies after this. And thank you very much. All right. I don't know if it's Emem or Chigeme. If you have questions.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. A round of applause for our speaker. I was taking notes actively. I was like, I'm learning a couple new things. Thank you so much. I learned quite a lot, and I know that participants, attendees did as well. That was incredible, absolutely incredible. I had a lot of things you said I had never heard before, and I'm just so happy that I was even though I didn't attend as an attendee, I still learned quite a bit. So thank you so much, Tracy. That was very practical, talking about career identity as the foundation of, long-term success. I especially liked the equation you created where you said career identity is equals to who you are plus how you show up plus what you bring. And I'll be running with that. Um, I'm sure we've learned quite a bit. I saw a couple of statements on the Q&A chat as well. And a link will be put up shortly where we can share our career stories anonymously for tomorrow. But I would still love for us to speak now, talk about, what we've learned so far, just raise your hand. You'll be given permission. So you have liberty. You can share your career stories. You can share your job hunting stories, your questions for Tracy, or if at any point in the class you just had an eureka moment, an aha moment where you're like, oh, okay, this finally makes sense to me, or this is how I'm going to do things going forward. By all means, raise your hand. I saw Akudo in the comment section talking about commenting on the confusion that's Tracy mentioned. So I don't know if you would want to share first, Akudo, but I really want us to participate. It's important that our facilitator, our trainer knows that, the words that she shared you are making impact in our lives and how we intend to work with them. So I'd like for us to speak, ask questions, just share your insights, what you took away from the class. I'll be waiting. I don't know. Akudo, you had commented something about confusion earlier, facing confusion and, your career identities. I don't know if you want to expatiate on that. I want us to understand the importance of the individual we have with us on this call. You know, sometimes we tend to take for granted, the people that are already in our spaces. You have those questions that have been burning questions on your heart. You have an opportunity to ask them now. So I would really encourage us to do so. Ladies, gentlemen, I'll be waiting for your hands, for your videos, your voices. I'd really, really love for us to hear from you. All right, Echeme, thank you so much. You have the floor.
Okay, good evening, Miss Tracy or Mrs. Tracy. I don't know what it is. So I wanted to ask, oh, well, really, let me situate the question in its proper context. So I recently graduated from law, but then I find myself, well, not not really interested in like pursuing like a career in law in the long term. But the advice I've gotten is to give it a shot for like quite some time to see really whether it's like the right fit. So what do you do in that situation? Like, do you get into it, explore further until like you're fully convinced, or do you work on that? I don't know if I call it a premonition, but like a that inner, do I say inner desire not to continue that path.
Okay. That's a great question. And funny enough, we have someone in my team that she studied law, but she never practiced. She's a consultant now, so there's someone like that actually. And she was actually in your shoes. She just did the whole went to study law, went to law school, but she knew that she didn't want to do that. And she decided to give consulting a chance. So for you, Echeme, what do you love to do? That's if you remember that framework, right? Forget you studied law right now. What do you love to do? If you are going to start doing something right now, if you had an opportunity to start doing something right now, what is that thing you would want to do?
I would like to do something intellectually challenging, like something that somehow like stimulates my brain. Like I think that's kind of my superpower in a bit. Like or really like I just like things that make my brain think, right? Like I hate doing like work that is how do I put it? I don't want to call it manual labor because like sometimes like you could just be doing like things on your system that's automated in a way, but like it's not exactly getting you to think, right? It's just like, oh, do this, do that, this step one, step two, step three, and that's it.
For example, consulting.
I would imagine that consulting fits into that mold.
Yeah. So really, I know that some people say just give it a try. But if you had gone through law school for several years, or you studied law for several years, you went to law school, and then you know deep down that this is not just you, because you know what it's going to be about anyway. It's always best you try out, follow that thing on your inside. Follow that nudge on your inside. There's already a passion. You know the things that drive you, right? So now that's speaking to the thing about opportunities. If a consulting opportunity comes, if we hear that for example, KPMG is looking for fresh young graduates, right, that will come into consulting, would it be something that you'd be excited about? Thinking about it? Would you want to just, take that chance, knowing that it's consulting and it's something that you would love to do because it's going to stimulate your brain. You get to where you're thinking hard. It's something you'd want to pursue, right? Ejime?
I mean, I'm open to considering, like to exploring rather than not considering.
Yes, it's exploring. Like we mentioned, in the first 5 years of your career, first few years, you're open to trying out opportunities, exploring, but you would know the right things to explore. If there's an opportunity for an engineering role, I'm sure you will not want to explore that, right? Because you know that those are not the things that excite you, right? So my candid advice would be go with the things. There are several things around you looking into the things that drive you, that gets you thinking, that gets you engaged. There are several opportunities around that. Explore those opportunities. Explore those opportunities. You've already spent a couple of years studying law. You know right now that this is not what, and the only reason you want to just try out law will be okay, so because you don't want to just be at home idle. So let me just try this out, right? But if you have an opportunity where you get to, do the things that get you excited, then I'd advise that you take that opportunity. So that's it, Echene.
Thank
I
you
hope
so
that
much. I
answers
really
the
appreciate the
question.
feedback.
All right, then. You're welcome.
Thank you so much, Tracy. I feel for me, I love how this kind of still ties into what you were talking about earlier, about how if you don't know your own career identity, other people will try to give you one and say, oh, I think you
Exactly.
could do this, or I think you should do that. But then when you say, okay, this is what I want to do, this is who I am, this is where I'm going, right? And like you advised, Chame, you've done the law, you've seen it. I feel like personally I'm like the person in your office. I also studied law. Chigaba knows I never practiced half a day in my life. I just went into the fields that were exciting for me, like TV production and all of that. So I feel like you said nobody knows you better than you know yourself. And if you know,
Exactly.
okay, this thing, I don't really feel it, don't let other people talk you into it, because at the end of
Exactly.
the day, they're not there with you doing the job. You are
Exactly. And you'll be the one frustrated on the job. Exactly.
exactly. Amazing. Thank you so much, Echeme, for sharing that. And I'm so happy that Tracy was able to help you, on that question, because I feel, you know, being fresh out of uni sometimes, or just new in the job market, it can be very confusing because there's a lot of contradictory advice. People say, oh, I think you should try this, or oh, try that. But like she advised, look into things that like you said, stimulate your brain, and you should be good to go. Do we have anyone else that has a question for Tracy, that wants to, have her speak to their situation or clarify a couple things for them? Or I just want to talk about, what you learned from today's session. We'd love, love, love to hear from you. You can just raise your hand and we'll see it, and you have the floor.
Oh, okay. I think Tracy has to. I think Tracy has to go. Yeah, she has to go right now. So you can send in your questions. You can definitely send in your questions, and she'll have it answered. She'll answer them. We'll send the answers to you and all that. So thank you, Tracy. Thank you so much.
Welcome. You're welcome. Thank you. Thank you
Thank
for
you
having
so much,
me.
Tracy.
Thank you, Emem. All right, then. Bye.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Have an amazing evening. We have,
Thank you.
still quite the event signed up. We have more speakers, coming up shortly. I'd like to confirm with convener that our next speaker is
All right. Yeah, our next speaker is Mr. Damilare Elegbede, the Senior Talent Acquisition Partner at First Bank. He's currently not here. So let's just take a short break, 2 minutes, 3 minutes, 5:30. We would, proceed, have his session, and that'll be all for today, day one, and then day two tomorrow. Thank you.
Awesome, thank you.
All right. Yeah, Emem, we can go ahead. The next speaker is here. Currently, Mr. Damilare is here. So
Amazing. Thank you so much, Chikeme. Now, ladies and gentlemen, we've taken a break, so I believe that we are ready for the next phase, the next, level of education, of teaching. Our next session builds on what we've heard already, what we've already learned. And if defining your career identity is who you are, then the next big question would be, how do you now position yourself to access opportunities? To take us through this, we'll have a professional who works at the very heart of youth employment in Africa. He's a human capital consultant at currently works as a senior talent acquisition partner with First Bank Group, one of Nigeria's leading institutions, where he partners with business leaders to drive talent acquisition and talent management across the bank and its subsidiaries. He has years and years of experience in recruitment and selection, talent management, business partnering, and has continued to prefer people-centric solutions to some of the leading organizations across sectors such as FMCG, retail chain stores, hospitality, financial services, engineering, oil and gas. I'm almost out of breath. And he's driven by his desire to impact lives beyond the corporate space, which I feel leads us to why he would be speaking at an event like this one. He is a certified member of the United Kingdom Human Resources Institute. He's a senior professional in human resources international, certified by HRCI. I didn't scratch the surface of his achievements, I promise you. But I'm so eager to have him, start speaking to us. And today he'll be speaking on unlocking opportunities through intentional career positioning. I just want us to get ready, get your notepads. We're going to be learning how to strategically place ourselves where opportunities can find us, how to move from being overlooked to being in demand. Ladies and gentlemen, with a warm round of applause, let's make welcome Damilare Elegbede, Senior Talent Acquisition Partner at First Bank of Nigeria. A round of applause for him as he takes the stage. You're muted, sir. We can
Hello,
hear
please
you.
confirm you can hear me. Can you hear me now?
Yes, sir.
All right. So sorry. I'm just trying to pull myself together. Yes. I'm currently at work, so I just had to sneak out of the office into the conference room, to have this chat. So once again, thank you guys for having me. And I can see Chigeme Asinobi on the call. We've been having conversation back to back. And of course, the D-Day is here. And trust me, I'm ready to take this session as well. Anything that gives me the opportunity to speak to young professionals and the career starter, you would always, find me, readily available to, lend my voice to the conversation, right? So once again, I'm happy to be here. So I think I have a slide I would like to share. Okay, so can I go ahead to share my slide? Is that fine?
sure, that's fine. Sure.
All right, all right. So just let me know once you can see my slides. Content only. Share. All right, please confirm you can see my screen.
Yes, we can.
All right, all right. Just a minute, just a minute. Don't mind me, I'm not very, very conversant with Zoom for some weird reasons. We use more of Teams in my office. And then, of course, for subsequent engagement, it's always Teams, or Google Meet. Okay, so I believe everyone can see my screen. Just confirm you can see my screen then. Confirm you can see my screen in a slideshow, then I'll just go ahead.
Yes, in the slideshow. Yeah.
All right. So once again, thank you guys, and trust me, we have a lot to learn. I think I've been given an hour to speak on this topic, and afterwards would have an opportunity to take questions. I always look forward to the Q&A session. Okay, so the topic once again is unlocking opportunities through intentional career positioning. That's a topic I've been given to speak on. And sorry, just a sec. There's something I want to do. So there's this slide there's this particular Zoom notification that is popping up on my screen. So I'm trying to like hide it so that I can have full access to my slides. Just a second, please. Oh. Just a sec. Okay, so let's just carry on. All right. So this is going to be the agenda for today's engagement. So start with the introduction, talk about what intentional positioning is all about, why it matters, So what I've done is for every presentation, I try to consider the audience demographics, right? So in a sense, I want to believe a large chunk of our audience are probably based in Nigeria, and maybe more specifically Lagos, but of course, let's just say in general context, Nigeria. So looking at the career landscape in Lagos, Nigeria, and of course, trust me, the strategies we're going to be talking about isn't just specific to our local context. It's also something that can be adopted even outside of Nigeria, right? So key strategies, mastering job interviews, and common mistakes. So I just thought to add this particular slides to it. And then, of course, the God factor, and then conclusion. So before we carry on, I like to always begin my presentation with an icebreaker. Right. I think we're about 12 on the call, 12 participants on the call. So the name of this icebreaker is called If You Could Switch Lives with Someone for a Day, who would it be? Right. And so I've got question 1 to 20. So what I need is just about three or four people. No, because of time, maybe just two people to randomly pick a question, and then I'll read out what the person has picked, and then the person will then respond to us. And then, of course, when you're picking a question, tell us your name, what you do, and then the card that you are going to pick. Okay, so can we have the first person who is ready to go first? Just to confirm, the participant, do they have access to speak?
Yes, they do. You can speak.
Um,
All right. So I think I just heard a guy's voice. So please, you can go ahead. Tell us your name, what you do currently, and then you can pick a number.
can I go first? Okay.
Yes, please. Yes, please.
Um, hello everybody. My name is Icheme Robert. What I do, I recently graduated from the Law Faculty of Babcock University. I'm currently interning with Sterling Bank. Maybe not the best unit yet, but still trying to
Mhm.
discover the sweet spots.
Okay,
And
okay,
then as for the card I picked, interesting. Well, let's say three because
okay, three because of what? Why are you picking number three? Hello, please confirm you can hear me. Can you hear me? Can anybody hear me?
sorry, I didn't quite get you. The line was breaking.
All right. So you said you're picking number three, right?
I don't know if that's a personal problem. Sorry,
Hello.
can everybody hear me?
We
Yeah,
can hear
I
you.
can hear you better now.
Okay. So you said you're picking question three. So
Yes.
my question to you is why are you picking question three? Is there a particular reason for picking question three, or you just decide to pick question three?
Um, I don't actually have a specific reason. I mean,
Okay,
if I was
okay,
going with color, I've gone with like 1, 7, or 13, or one of those numbers in the yellow
okay,
boxes.
okay,
But
okay.
just because.
All right, all right. That's fine. That's fine. So let me read out question three for you. So the question is, if you could live in any country for a year, where would it be and why? Did you get the question?
No, please, could you take it again, please?
Okay, so the question is, if you could live in any country for a year, where would it be and why?
That's interesting. I haven't consciously thought about this question, but I would like to think that I want to go to a place in Europe that speaks English.
Okay, cool. So where in
So most
particular?
likely Dublin or okay, let's just put it as London.
Okay, okay.
I I don't exactly have reasons why I want to be there, but like I would like to believe that the place is like a beautiful place, and it would be nice being there.
Okay, okay, fantastic, fantastic. Thank you for that feedback. Okay, so can we have a lady as well? So we have a guy, can we have a lady, and then we can just dive straight into it. Okay, so I think someone is trying to speak, right?
Good evening.
Hi, good evening. Is that Ogechi?
Yes.
Okay, Ogechi, please go ahead.
Okay, my name is Ogechi and I'm a graduate of engineering, Federal University of Technology, where so
Okay,
I'm picking number 5.
number five.
Yes.
Okay. Okay. So for number five, the question is, if you could only keep one app on your phone, which one would it be and why?
If I could only keep one
It,
app on my phone,
yes, which app would it be and why?
hmm, Pinterest.
Pinterest, wow. Okay, so why
Yes.
Pinterest?
Well, right now, I'm thinking of now. I don't know for the long run. So right now, I'm into fashion designing as a side hustle. So Pinterest helps me
Okay.
a lot. So yeah,
Wow, wow, amazing, amazing. Okay, okay.
yeah.
So thank you so much, Ogechi. And so the other guy, I think I didn't quite pick his name, but let me try to pick it. I think it's Echeme Robert, right?
Yes, that's it.
All right, I got it. All right, so thank you so much, guys. So let's just move on very quickly because of time. So introduction, and I like to start my introduction with I believe we can see my slides, right?
Yeah, we can.
Yes, I can.
Okay, okay, okay. All right. All right, thank you very much. So I like to start with a a personal story. Reason for that is because, of course, when I'm speaking to young professionals or early career starter, instead of just doing the usual presentation, I just like to share my story as a way to kick off the conversation, right? So typically, I'm an HR professional, right? I've worked with, I think, about 4 or 5 organizations. Uh, so I started out in a consulting firm, right, in Ibadan, and then of course from there moved to Lagos, started with my new consulting, moved to Jobberman, then from Jobberman I got an opportunity to work with Deloitte and Touch, and then currently, I'm enjoying my time with First Bank Group, right? And just a quick backstory. So back in school, I studied English and linguistics, but then I wanted to study law, but for some weird reasons, I think I didn't meet the cutoff mark by, I think, 2 points, right? And then, of course, when you're writing jam for the first time, your head is still very hot and, fresh. But then how to write jam the second time. And then even with the second time, I think my first jam score was about 278. And then the second one I wrote, I think I got about 250, 255 thereabout. But eventually it was even harder, getting low the second time I tried. And so eventually I had to settle with English and literary studies, right? And but one thing was clear from the get-go. I knew I wasn't going to teach in the four walls of a primary school or a secondary school. I just didn't see myself in that light. And then of course back in school, in your classrooms, your lecturers they're just they're already trying to build your career for you. So they don't see you doing anything outside of teaching, being in the classroom, teaching subject verb agreement, lexis and structure and all of that. But I just didn't see myself in that light. But then I went ahead 4 years in University of Lagos, did English and literary studies, then afterwards I went for youth service. So I did my youth service in Ibadan. I wanted to serve in Kaduna, but for some weird reasons I didn't get Kaduna, so I had to settle with Ibadan because I was born in Lagos, did my primary school in Lagos, did my secondary school in Ogun State, did uni in Lagos. I wanted to just travel far from the west, probably go to the north, just experience life in another way. But eventually I didn't get Kaduna, so I had to settle with Ibadan. So, of course, fast forward, I was in Ibadan serving, and I did quite a lot of stuffs, during my service year. And I keep saying that my service year was the turning point as far as my career trajectory is concerned. That was where I got clarity. That was where I got um direction to what I wanted to do as far as having a career is concerned, right? And then at the time I was serving, it was a period where the Ebola virus was very much, in vogue at the time, just like when coronavirus came around 2020 thereabout. So at the time, I'm talking about 2016, 2017. So it was pretty much Ebola virus and all that. And then in my local government, we were about 900 to about 1,000 core members. And also at the time, I was the president of a CDS group, education CDS. So I just took it upon myself that, you know what, I'm going to prepare a slide deck, do a thorough research on Ebola virus, and then sensitize the entire local government. And of course, at the time, my local government was one of the largest local governments in Ibadan at the time. So I had a lot of audience. Spoke with I don't know what they call those guys now. I spoke to our coordinator about it, told them what I wanted to do. We had a very big hall and then a big, what's it called? Projector, right? That would capture everybody. So, and then it was like, you know what, go ahead, come up with your deck and then let's see. So I did that, showed him, and then it gave me the opportunity to present to the entire core members, right? So I had to do a thorough, what's it called? Thorough sensitization on Ebola virus, how to combat it, how to avoid it, and all of that. And it was fantastic. It was a fantastic presentation. And then, of course, after the session, the senior NYSC officials at the time were quite impressed. The core members after the session were coming to me to say, "Oh, that was a wonderful presentation, fantastic." I just felt like a celebrity, right? Like one guy that almost all the core members in the local government, they just know who this guy is, just by the virtue of what he did, right? So I felt so fulfilled. There was just this kind of pleasure and satisfaction I got that very day that I just couldn't explain it. Now I wanted to follow my story very quick, very closely. So fast forward, I started hearing my friends and colleagues, telling me stuff about, wow, you're good with facilitating, you're good with mobilizing people, you're good with sensitization, you're good with, just sharing knowledge, practically. And then they start to suggest, you know, they start to suggest the career endeavors that I might want to consider. So one of them was maybe learning and development. Why not go fully into, trainings and all of that? And I was like, okay, so there's something called learning and development. Okay, not bad. And then also around that same time, for some weird reason, I just started writing CVs for core members. I just picked interest in writing CVs and resume writing, cover letter. I write very well. So it was just very easy. I was doing that at the time. We're almost done with service, and the next thing is what's next after NYSC. So my core members or my colleagues were just trying to fine-tune their CVs so that they can start submitting CVs, probably to their uncles, to their dads, and all that. So I started doing that, and I was making extra cash from it. I think at the time I was writing CV for about 5K thereabout. So also along the line, I started hearing suggestion around, guy, why not explore opportunities in human resources? You're going to make a good HR, this, that. And that was where the whole career idea started forming. In fact, at the time I was in uni, I never knew there was a course in HR. And that's industrial and personnel management. If probably if I'd known, I would have gone ahead to study HR instead of what I studied, right? But of course, at the time, in my own generation, it's more you have to be a lawyer. If you're not a lawyer, you're a medical doctor. If you're not a medical doctor, you have to be an engineer, so or a mass communicator. We didn't really know much about other interesting, courses that we could even explore at the time. So basically, I started to explore opportunities in human resources. Before I was done with NYSC, I'd already put in for CIPM, which is the professional body for HR in Nigeria, started Chartered Institute of Personnel Management of Nigeria. So I was already writing that exam, I think few months to the end of youth service. I think about 4 or 5 months to the end of youth service, I'd put in for this certification already, and then I'd started. Now, there was a particular consulting firm in Ibadan at the time that would always come to our local government to also come and sensitize and stuff, just sell their services. And then somewhere along the line, I was able to connect myself to the team, right? And then I was doing stuff for them even without any extra cash or anything like that. Now, that is about positioning in a sense, because they were into learning and development, training and development. And then I was just interested, okay, you know what, I can actually work with you guys, maybe for a free. And so while I was a serving corps member, so this particular consulting firm, brought me on board on a contract basis. So I would then travel to various states to go and speak to corps members. Then as a corps member, I was traveling to Ekiti State, I was traveling to Ondo, I was traveling to Abuja, Port Harcourt, you know, going to NYC orientation camp, to speak to corps members on career, on business, and stuff like that. And trust me, of course, they never knew I was a corps member anyways. But then I'd so much gathered a lot of knowledge that I was just trying to put myself out there. I was trying to ensure that I was rightly positioned for every opportunity that is coming my way. So I did all of that for about 6 months, working with this consulting firm, right? Travel to different states just to represent the firm because at the time, the consulting firm where they were getting project from NYC. So there is no way the managing partner can visit all the states, right? So he needed to send some representatives down to different states to represent the company. So that was where I came into the picture. And then fast forward after NYC, it was no brainer. They wanted to retain me almost immediately. The plan was to come back to Lagos, but then I had to stay for like another year in Ibadan, working with this consulting firm, traveling across different states, facilitating and all of that. But of course, one morning I just woke up and everything didn't just make sense to me again. And then I was like, you know what, it's time to go back to Lagos. And I came back to Lagos, and then coming back to Lagos, it was crystal clear. While my other friends were just applying for any jobs that comes their way, for me, it was clear. It's either HR or nothing, right? And that was how I've been able to establish myself so far, within that line, within the human resource part. And of course, it's been 7, 8 years down the line. And I would say that the journey has been smooth. Not actually smooth, of course. You would have the hard times, the hard days and all that, but it's been rewarding. It's been a rewarding profession for me. It's what I do currently, it's beyond a career, right? It's more or less like a calling for me because I love doing what I'm doing, if I'm to put it that way. Talking to young professionals, doing what I'm doing right now, right? This was what actually started the whole journey, for me. And then I'm just so glad and excited to I'm still on that path, right? Yeah, so pretty much that's my story. If you're able to follow my story closely, I believe you can deduce one or two things. And then as we begin to you know, discuss other things in the slides, you can begin to connect the dots. Also, there's a particular thing I was supposed to talk about it, but then I'm not going to talk about it until I get a particular slide, right? So just follow me keenly. Please, can you just drop in the chat box if you're still very much with me? So I need to be sure that we are together. So I'm going to be moving very, very fast now. Can I get a thumbs up? Can I get a comment that you're following? All right, thank you. Thank you so much, guys. So
Yes, I
we're
am.
done. All right, great, fantastic. So let's start with intentional positioning, right? For you, I believe I'm speaking to young professionals and early career starters, right? So intentional positioning, what does that mean? So I've been able to come up with 3 definition, and then I would just definitions. So I would like to run them with you very quickly. So the first one is, it is a deliberate effort to make yourself visible, relevant, and valuable in your professional space. So in my personal story that I shared, you could tell that, somewhere along the line, I had to intentionally position myself for opportunities, right? So the second definition says it means strategically developing the right skills, building relationships with key people in your industry and presenting yourself in a way that sets you apart from thousands of other graduates and young professionals, right? And then the last one is saying It's about making sure that when opportunities arise, whether through networking events, social media platform, LinkedIn, or word of mouth or referrals, you're seen as someone ready and capable to seize them. So just to cap it up, when we talk about intentional positioning, what we are just saying in essence is your ability to make yourself visible, right? And relevant and valuable in your space. Now, being visible is not enough. You have to ensure that you have the right skills. You have to ensure that you're building the right relationships, right? And these two key ingredients, would position you, really well as far as intentional positioning is all about. And then in the story I'd shared, you would notice that for me, I'd talked about my skill set in facilitating training. I talked about skill set in writing CVs, cover letters. At some point, I was also doing LinkedIn optimization, for core members. So these were skill set I already have, right? And then I was visible. Almost every core member in my set knew who this guy was, right? The consulting firm I was working with as a core member, they could also tell that this guy has certain skills that we could leverage on, right? So I was aware of these skills that I possess, right? And then what I also did was to intentionally position myself, right? So it's just very much important that we have an idea of what it's all about, right? And then if you look at the graphics on the screen, it says deliberately showing up as the right person with the right skills at the right time. So skills or skill acquisition is critical to positioning yourself intentionally, because if you're visible, it shows that you have something you can offer, you have value that you can offer, right? So there's no point being visible when I practically do not have any value, to give in the first place. So the first thing is, let me hone my skills, let me acquire skills. And then once I am aware of the skill that I've got, then the next thing is to start reaching out, building relationships, just to put myself out there, and then opportunities would then start to come. So moving on very quickly. So why it matters? So why it matters means, why does it matter to intentionally position yourself, right? And then I'm going to use Nigeria as a case study. So just to confirm, I know one of us is currently not in Nigeria. If you're currently in Nigeria, please, can we just state our location in the chat box? Is it possible to do that in 5-10 seconds?
I think they can just unmute and speak. There's no chat box here per se.
Oh,
There's
no
just
chat box. Okay. All right. Fantastic. So I just want to believe that, let's say 80 or 85% of us are based in Nigeria. Is that correct? Just to be sure. Can somebody just confirm what I just said?
I confirm
Okay.
on their behalf. Yeah.
All right, fantastic. So why it matters? Why it matters to intentionally position yourself, using Nigeria as a case study, right? So the first reason is because the labor market is highly competitive and thousands of graduates enter the job market yearly, right? So we've got the entry level, we've got the mid-level, and then we've got the experienced higher, mid-level, and then of course senior level, right? Or leadership. Now, there's this saying that it's usually very crowded at the top. At the base, it's usually very, very crowded, but then at the top, it's lonely. So what it means is that when you're about to break into the corporate space, it is not just you. You have about 45 to about 100,000 other applicants, vying for that same opportunity that you're applying to. So if you're on this call and then you're currently applying for entry-level graduate training opportunities, right, you need to be aware that there are about 20 to 30,000 other graduates that are applying for that same opportunities. All right. So it then makes it sensible that beyond all of this, it is critically important to intentionally position yourself for opportunities. So in the story that I shared, you can tell that immediately after youth service, I didn't spend extra day at home looking for a job or whatever. It was almost like I was intentionally positioned for opportunities. And then after service, I had to just start working with this consulting firm, right? And then I worked with them for about a year, right? And then afterwards, I moved back to Lagos, and then I just started the journey like that, right? So why it matters to intentionally position yourself is because the labor market is highly competitive, right? And then thousands of graduates, enter that market yearly. Secondly, opportunities are not always advertised, right? Referrals and connections count. Now, one of the things that also mentioned earlier was relationship building. So I have slides, it's a particular slide on that I speak on networking, and then we'll talk about that when we get there. But pretty much referrals and connections count, especially in our climate, in Nigeria, in Lagos, anywhere that you are. So building relationships over time helps, a great deal, right? Your WhatsApp platforms, your group chats, building relationships on those platforms also matters a lot. Sometimes somebody can just see an opportunity and then share on the group, and then it just happens like that, right? So within the context, opportunities are not always advertised, referrals and connections count. So I remember when I moved back to Lagos from Ibadan, the first job I got in Lagos was with a company called Attah. The company, it was like an NGO. It was situated somewhere in Dolphin Estate, Ikoyi, for those of us that know Dolphin Estate. And you know what? Guess what? There was this particular platform on Telegram that I was always active on that Telegram. And then somebody just dropped an advert on that Telegram. I just chatted the person up on DM the person, tell the person I was interested, and then the person asked me to share my CV. I did, and then the person forwarded my CV to the managing partner of the company. The rest is history. Till tomorrow, I don't even know the person. I can't put a face to the person. All right. So this just shows that you've got to, as much as possible, connect to different platforms. Try to meet people, build relationships as well. And thirdly, because employers look for standout candidates who show initiative. So this is very critical. For me, there was a lot of stuff that I did at the time, that made the consulting firm, to bring me on board. They just noticed that this guy there was just a lot of stuff in him that it could add to the organization. So you have to show initiative as well. Okay, so moving on very quickly. Also, what I've also done here is what I call the career landscape in Nigeria in a reality check. So what this means is it is good to have an idea of how the career landscape looks like or how it is designed, in Nigeria. I've been working in Nigeria for the past 7 to 8 years. So from experience, I was able to pull this together. So the first one is highly competitive job market. Thousands of graduates enter the workforce each year, leading to intense competition for leading limited roles in top leading organizations. So now I think it's important that I put this. So at the beginning, entry level, it's usually very, very, difficult, to get in a good job. But this is what I tell young people. If you're able to finish with a good grade, right? Let's say 2-1 first class, then you're good with your GMAT, you're good with verbal reasoning, quantitative, because at that level, you're going to be writing a lot of aptitude tests, with different organizations, right? If you're good with numbers, you're good with logical reasoning, right? Then you have a high chance of securing jobs in some big, highly structured organizations, right? And then, of course, as you climb your way to the top, it becomes easier, to switch from one job to another, right? So at mid-level, you can decide to say, you know what, I'm tired of this job. The stress is too much. And then you're trying to apply to another organization. few months down the line, you also get another offer because as at that time you've acquired skills, you are now seen as an experienced hire, not necessarily as a graduate trainee. You are seen as somebody who is coming to hit the ground running. You're seen as somebody who is coming to add value almost immediately. Somebody who can come in, disrupt, our process flow and then improve on what we have, right? But of course, at the start, it's usually very competitive. And that's just the reality in Nigeria. So second one is emerging sectors and opportunities. So currently in Nigeria, talking about the big industry, the big sectors, we talk about the banking, we talk about oil and gas, we talk about telecoms, right? The financial services in general, FMCGs. These are the top industries that entry-level graduates can apply to. However, it's also important that you're aware of new opportunities that are growing in other industries. Talking about tech, talking about fintech, digital services, logistics, and the creative company. So we'll talk about the creative company. We're talking about content creation. We're talking about digital marketing, video editing, graphics design, and all of that. So these are emerging sectors and opportunities that we currently have in the country, right, or in Nigeria. So it just depends on which area you're interested in. Third one is skills gap versus employer expectations. Many employers seek practical job-ready skills, right, and they are not often developed in graduate. So this is also what the reality looks like. An employer wants you to, on the get-go, they want you to know how to use Microsoft Office tools. They want you to know how to use Word, Excel, PowerPoint. Now, trust me, an average graduate might not be able to might not be able to put together a crisp deck, using PowerPoint. An average graduate might not be able to do VLOOKUP, SLOOKUP, regression analysis on Excel, right? Of course, MS Word is what you use to type your project back in school. But the other packages, it will require you taking extra trainings. Or maybe you find yourself in a corporate environment and then this is what you're using. Over time, you get used to it. Because when you're working in a corporate space, these are the major tools that you use on a day-to-day. You're using PowerPoint, you're using Excel, you're using Word. So it's critical that you learn how to use tools like that. Employers are expecting a problem solver. They're expecting a critical thinker. They're expecting somebody, that's with good digital literacy and all that. And then, of course, as a graduate, sometimes, especially looking at the curriculum in our universities, it also doesn't help. Well, for new emerging universities, the narrative is changing gradually, right? But for the traditional universities that we have, it's almost like same curriculum that were used in the 90s is what were still being used in the 20s up until now. So when you're coming out of school into the corporate space, it was almost like you just wasted 4 or 5 years in universities, right? So pretty much these are the reality checks. And lastly, networking and referrals. So I talked about this earlier. In Nigeria, who you know often matters as much as what you know. Professional networks, internships, referrals play a huge role in landing job opportunities, right? So it's very critical. But then I wouldn't want you to see that, oh, networking, referrals is all I need. No. You need to have something to give first. You need to display your skill sets. You need to give an impression that you've got something to offer, right? So when you have that, opportunities will come and then you seize it. But in a nutshell, this is how the career landscape, currently looks like in Nigeria, using these 4 parameters. So moving very quickly to the next slide, which is where I'm now going to talking about the key strategies, for unlocking opportunities, right? And then if you're following very keenly, it's also, I would suggest that you also take note of some of the points that I'm going to be sharing, right? So the first one is skill development. This is very critical. Skill development is very, very critical. We are talking about opportunities. We need to have something to be able to attract a certain kind of opportunities, right? The opportunities will always be there, but if you don't have the skill set, you won't get it, right? So if you go on different job boards, different job site, you'll see different vacant opportunities, from maybe not so much of entry level, maybe from mid-level to senior level. You see a lot of opportunities, but those roles are yet to be filled because the kind of person specification that is required to fill that role they are scarce. Or they probably do not even have the skills for the job. So the jobs are just there, right? So what I'm saying in essence is the opportunities will always come. The opportunities will always, come. That's it. But you need to ensure that you built the right skills to attract it. Now, so what I'm going to be doing in this slide is to run you through development. How do you develop your skills, right? And then the first thing is to understand yourself. First of all, understand who you are as a person, right? Assess your strengths, weaknesses, interests, and passion. And reflect on what tasks energizes you vis-a-vis those that drain you. I like to share this story by saying that for some of us, we probably did not like mathematics, and that was why we found ourselves in art class, right? I passed mathematics a couple of times back in school, but then I just didn't see myself in sciences, right? Of course, I passed maths in my Y. It's always giving me thumbs up. In my WAEC, my GC, and my WAEC, I passed mathematics. But then I was a boarding student at the time, back in secondary school, all through 6 years in secondary school, I was in boarding house. And then I had my guys, back after school, come back to the hostel, and then they are talking about subject like physics, chemistry, and then maybe some are struggling with it. Some are telling you, wow, I just love physics. In prep tonight, I'm going to be reading physics. I'm like, okay, good luck to you in reading physics. But for me, I'm just going to enjoy my literature. I'm going to enjoy my government. I'm going to enjoy my economics and all of that. And by the way, I won quite a lot of awards back in secondary school, winning best students in government back to back, winning best students in commerce. It just shows that from the get-go, I knew calculation wasn't my strength, right? And then I tilted towards an endeavor that is more suited to my strength. So when it comes to skills development, it's something that you should also do as well. Understand your strength, understand your weaknesses, your interest, your passion, reflect on what tasks energizes you vis-a-vis what drains you. Some people rather prefer quantitative stuff. Some people prefer something qualitative, right? So the way we express ourselves differs, but try to understand yourself. So next thing is identify market relevant skills. This is very, very important, right? Identify market relevant skills. So there are times where the buzz or the craze in Nigeria was, hello? Hello, can I continue? Can I continue?
Sure, you can. Whose
All right.
microphone did that? Okay. Yeah, you
All
can.
right.
Please, thank you.
All right. So very quickly. So at some point the craze was data analytics, right? At some point the craze was AI, artificial intelligence, and then we'll always have stuff like that, come up. But you need to understand market relevant skills, basically. Hard and technical skills is very critical. So when we talk about hard technical skills, we are talking about skill set that you need to acquire that is relevant to the job that you're doing, right? So typical example, you're a finance officer or a finance associate, you must have skills. You're expected to have, posting for ICANN. You're expected to know a bit about financial reporting. You're expected to know how to use Excel and stuff like that. For instance, you find yourself in HR, you're expected to know how to do recruitment. You're expected to know how to do onboarding. What's it called? Maybe a bit about talent management and all that. So those are like hard skills, right? So Lagos market is especially strong in finance, tech, fintech, consulting, oil and gas, media, and creatives. And also soft skills like teamwork, emotional intelligence, communication skills, problem solving. All of these are very, very, very important. to have. So the hard skills is not enough. You also need to ensure that you have soft skills, to back it up. All right. So moving to the next one, which is continuous learning and upskilling. Once you've been able to identify market relevant skill that aligns with your strength, right? The next thing to do to consolidate, to solidify, is to engage in continuous learning and upskilling, right? So you can take courses, short courses on Google Digital Skills, Coursera, Udemy, LinkedIn Learning, YouTube. YouTube these days, if you check my feeds on YouTube, I'm learning one thing or the other, right? And professional certifications as well are relevant to your industry. So once you've been able to know and determine that this is the industry I'm pivoting to, then you need to start to research on the relevant certifications that is applicable to that industry. So for those in finance, accounting, you're probably looking at ICANN, ACCA, CFA, and the likes. For those in HR, looking at CIPM, CIPD, SHRM, and the likes, and then also project management, and also in tech, software development, there are professional certifications in those areas as well. And finally, align skills with career goals. Match identified skills to desired career paths, reach gaps through training, volunteering, and internship. So that essentially around skills development. So the second strategy to unlocking opportunities is what I called effective and networking skills, right? And it's something that you must have heard over and over and over again. And then, so for me, I want to just bring a slight twist to it. So when I'm talking about networking, so the goal of networking shouldn't just be about what I want to get from you, right? It should be about what you can also benefit from me, right? It should be, I call it a symbiotic relationship, basically. So I know that we all have those friends in our circle where they're always asking they are the one always receiving, they're always asking you to give them something. You are the one always giving, right? And then anytime you see their call, sometimes you don't want to pick those calls, right? But then, there's this particular friend that as much as you're giving, he or she is also giving. And then when you see their calls, you're quick to want to pick the call, engage in a conversation and all that. It's because there's a shared value. There's an exchange of value that goes on between both parties. So essentially that's what networking is about, right? So for me, what I would say is, first of all, in your journey to finding the right opportunities, you need to build genuine relationships, right? So focus on meaningful and mutually beneficial connections. And the goal shouldn't be about collecting contacts. No, it's about, if I thought you're going to collect contact, it has to be, what can I give this person, right, in exchange? So the next point is leverage existing network. So at this point, leverage your NYSC alumni groups, your departmental groups, professional association for those writing ICANN, CIPM, project management, different courses. Leverage those platforms. For those who are Christians or Muslims, leverage your religion platform as well, and then volunteer opportunities, right? So leverage your existing networks. Because most time people say, oh, I don't have any network, I don't have any whatever. But the truth is, you actually have an existing network you can leverage on, but you just do not know that you can actually leverage on it. Or you feel maybe these guys, they can't give me what I want. You just never can tell. All right. So the next one is enhance online presence, maintain an updated LinkedIn profile, share insights, and engage with industry professionals. If you are a young and early career starter looking to break through into the corporate space, you have to make LinkedIn your friend. LinkedIn has to be like Instagram. LinkedIn has to be like Twitter. LinkedIn has to be like your WhatsApp. You've got to be on LinkedIn. Your LinkedIn is just like your electronic CV, right? So you just have to be on LinkedIn. I can't count how many opportunities that I've got on LinkedIn, right? So if there's one platform you have to spend a bit of time on, I would say it's LinkedIn. So the fourth one is give before you ask. Offer help, share information, volunteer to create lasting impressions, and all of that, right? I think I've covered this. Last one is be consistent, nurture relationships over time, referrals and word of mouth are key within the Nigerian context. So you've got to nurture these relationships. As much as you need something from this person, also give value. And in the process of networking, you can come in contact with people that can become a mentor, to you, that can also help you along the way. Another way to network is, as much as possible, try to attend industry events, right? Go for conferences, that has to do with career or even business, just go network, leverage, exchange contacts, and then try to build those relationships. So you just never can tell, what might come out of it. So the third point as key strategies to unlocking opportunities is personal branding. This is one topic that I would always mention as far as this topic is concerned, right? And first off, I have a definition here for personal branding, and it says that it is intentional way you present yourself through your skills, values, appearance, and reputation to shape how others perceive you and to stand out in your career or business. I'll just take that one more time. Personal branding, just in summary, is intentional way. Keyword is intentional. Intentional way you present yourself, through skills, values, giving value and receiving value, your appearance, how you look, how you dress, your grooming and all of that, and reputation, to shape how others perceive you and to stand out in your career or business, right? So when we talk about personal branding, it's more around everything about you and then how people perceive you in return. All right. So I'm going to be looking at a few things, and then the first one here is social media. Now we are in the social media age, right? And then I tell young professionals, the Gen Zs, majorly, as much as possible, you need to be aware that employers these days, before they give you that offer letter, they go online to check for your digital footprint. They want to check you out on Instagram. They want to see the kind of comment you make, the kind of post you make. They want to check you out on Twitter to know the kind of comments you're making and all of that. They want to check you out on LinkedIn because they are looking for people that would come and work in the organization that will become a proper ambassador, of that organization. So I've had cases where a smart guy, tech guy, software engineer, solid. He knows all the what they call them now, the frameworks, right? And then the employer decided to do one more check and then they went ahead, check its footprint on social media, and it wasn't fantastic. And that was it. Even though the guy had what he needed, but he felt that looking at his brand, how it's portraying himself on social media, it will eventually, it just doesn't align in terms of value, with the organization, and they have to let him go, right? So you have to pay attention to your social media presence and then how you engage social media, right? And it's also good to also state that in Nigeria, recruiters sometimes shortlist candidates directly from LinkedIn, even before posting on a role as well. So pretty much it's just about ensuring that you take good use of social media, right? Workplace conduct, I'm trying to move very fast because of time. So when we talk about workplace conduct, we are saying that your brand at work is built daily, from punctuality to how you handle feedback. This is very important also. Please don't be a perpetual latecomer. Don't be known in your office as the last person to enter the office, right? There's just a way that thing can rub off on your personal branding. And it's okay. Can you tell us something about Victor? We know that Victor always comes late to the office. Do you get it? It just doesn't sound right. Also, reliability. Reliability is rare. So when you consistently deliver, people start associating you with excellence. When you should be seen as that go-to guy. You should be seen as somebody who can be trusted who can be relied upon. So it's something you have to build over time, and it helps you. Promotion comes fast. Your team lead doesn't want to lose you to competitors, and all of that. But you have to give them the impression that you can be reliable, right? Emotional intelligence matters. So how you relate to colleagues and bosses define your reputation. So the next one is networking and relationships. I think we've talked a lot about this, so I won't spend too much time on it. The last one is physical appearance and dressing style. In Lagos fast-paced environment, people often judge professionalism by appearance before hearing you speak. And trust me, even what was it called? The security officials in the company, I mean, I said in the company, in the country, the law enforcement agent, the police and the like, sometimes the way you dress, the way you look, is enough for them to stop you, right? You just see a young guy with rough dreads or maybe with tattoos on his body, they just associate him to something bad. I believe it's something we can all relate to, right? So it just shows that physical appearance and dressing is critical, right? So from your look, from your appearance, people can already start to judge you or perceive you in a certain way, even before you speak, right? So it's important that you look the part. It's important that you pay attention to personal grooming, right? So your style should reflect ambition, clean, smart, industry appropriate, dressing signals, and readiness for bigger opportunities. Ensure that you dress well. As a lady, ensure that you're dressing well. As a guy, ensure that you're dressing well. Ensure that your hair is well cut, your beard's well trimmed. All of this very critical. And also, a signature needs look, well-groomed, tidy, intentional style make you memorable and reinforces your personal brand. This is very, very critical, right? So moving on to the fourth point, which is volunteering, as one of the key opportunities for unlocking, as one of the key strategies for unlocking opportunities. And then, so when it comes to volunteering, four things stands out for me. It builds experience and credibility. Volunteering helps young professionals to gain practical experience and then show competence without paid roles. So expand your network. Through volunteering, you can also expand your network because you are working with different people, even though you're not being paid. But somewhere, people just know you, for your reliability, for your consistency, and then for you always willing to help, right? So that way you're also expanding your network, and then in the right time, all of that will pay off, right? So the talk please just give me a second. All right, please confirm you can hear me.
We can hear
Hello,
you.
please confirm you can hear me. All right. Thank you very much. So moving very, very quickly, showcases character and values. It signals initiative, service mindset, and reliability, and traits employers and partners look out for. So consistently show up, stay reliable, and build credibility. So volunteering helps a great deal. As a young professional looking to break into the corporate space, I would implore you to explore volunteering, right, as an opportunity. And lastly, so I want to move very quickly to mastering job interviews, and then so we're almost done with my slides. So this wasn't meant to be on the slide, but because I'm speaking to young professionals, I feel it's important that I share this. So mastering job interviews. So the first one is research the company, right? Understand the industry, services, products, culture, recent news to show genuine interest. So you're applying to an organization. At entry level stage, organizations want to be sure that they want to know what you know about their company. I remember when I was starting out at the time, there was a time I applied to Workforce Group, here in Nigeria. And then trust me, if you for like a month, if you ask me anything about Workforce, I can tell you back to back. Like I knew so much about the company because I just wanted to work for them, right, at the time. So I did a lot of research about Workforce when it was founded, the co-founders and all of that, the different arms of services that they render and all that. So you need to ensure, so that shows some level of intelligence, some level of interest to wanting to work with the organization. So you don't go for an interview and then we're asking you, what do you know about our company? And then you can't really say anything. That alone, can make you lose the opportunity. All right. So the next thing is understand the job role. Study the job description. Study the job description, carefully, match your skills and experience to the job requirements. Just ensure that you study the job role. Don't just go there and say, hey, I didn't see the job description, so I just applied and then I just hope that, God will give me favor in this interview. No, it doesn't work like that. You need to understand. You need to sound smart. You need to sound intelligent, right? So the next one is practice common questions. So prepare responses to questions like, tell me about yourself, why should we hire you, and what are your strengths and weaknesses? These are common questions that they have entry level graduates, right? So and these are things that you can learn, right? Tell me about yourself. What does that mean in a sense? You have to tell us about yourself as a person. Tell us about your education, your qualification, as the case may be, right? And this is not the time where you should be telling us about the number of people that you have in your family. We don't need all of those information. Why should we hire you? Tell them about the value propositions that you have, right? That you can offer even as an entry level. Maybe not necessarily all of the skill set, but there are certain things that you feel at this stage you can offer. And what they need, what employers need from you at this level is your interest, your willingness, your drive, your passion to want to contribute to what the business is building. All right. And then, of course, when they're asking you what are your strengths and weaknesses, this is not to say, maybe for weaknesses, you're probably saying stuff like, oh, I have anger issues. Sometimes I don't know how to control my anger, or no, those are not the kind of weaknesses we are talking about. So weaknesses might be, I'm more of a perfectionist. So when there's a need for me to turn out a task sometimes I delay in turning out a task because I want to ensure that I'm giving it my best shot. So that, in a sense, can be a weakness. So strength could be emotional intelligence, an ability to lead teams, ability to just ensure that everybody is happy and fine in a team, your relational skills, all of that can pass as strength. All right. The fourth one is I like transferable skills. And this is just talking about soft skills, basically. Your dressing is also coming into picture again. So you need to ensure that you dress professionally, you look the part, at all times when you're going for an interview. I've sat in an interview where the guy walked in with a top and a jean, and trust me, we had to send him back. That was the end, right? So you've got to look the part. Even though you're applying for a tech role, a software engineer, you still have to look the part, because the people you're going there to meet, they are not relatives or family friends, they're employers. So you've got to, give them the right impression from the get-go. All right. And mind your body language, maintain eye contact, smile, sit upright, to show confidence. This is very, very important. Ensure that you're communicating the right body language all through, the engagement. Don't sound timid. Don't sound low on confidence. Maintain eye contact, smile, be calm. If you don't have answer to a certain question, politely tell them that you don't really have answers to this particular question, that you might come back to them on this. So it makes a lot of sense than just rambling and all of that, right? And lastly, ask thoughtful questions. Prepare one or two questions about the company or role to show engagement. And the thoughtful question could be, where do you see this company in the next 5 years? And then what is the company doing, to grow from this current size, to XYZ size in the next years? Those are thoughtful questions that you can ask as a young professional. So common interview mistakes to avoid: a lack of preparation. So I think we've talked about that. You just have to ensure that you're prepared. The way you prepare to defend your project defense when you're in school, that is the way you should prepare for every interviews, because that is just one opportunity that you need, to sell yourself. Right. So the next one is poor communication, giving vague answers, using slang, or speaking without confidence. You've got to watch all of this. Overemphasis on salary remuneration, asking about pay benefit too early in the process. So you've got to be careful with this. As at this stage, the money will always come. Like I say, it's just more about show value, show what you can offer, show enthusiasm, show drive, show passion, to want to join the organization, right? And then when you show all of that, money would come, eventually. And then you go to the point where you then determine how much you want to be paid, right? But at the entry level stage, all you need is somebody to give you that opportunity, somebody to believe in your capacity and your potential, right, to deliver on the job. All right. And then you start to work your way to the top from there. So the entry level stage is not that stage where you're already negotiating salary with the employer. How much can you offer me? No. So when you're starting that conversation like that, you're sending the wrong signal. And trust me, they just might not, get back to you. And finally, unprofessional demeanor, dressing casually, arriving late, or showing negative body language. These are things that you've got to watch out for. And then especially in this generation where almost all of us are glued to our phones, we almost doesn't even know how to interact anymore, with ourselves. We all live our lives on social media these days. So you've got to be very, very watchful. You've got to watch out for all these errors, all these red flags. All right. You've got to dress to impress when you're going for interviews. Same way you go for conferences, events, right? And then the way somebody dresses alone just gives you that, or the way you dress to an event or an occasion gives you the confidence to engage anybody, gives you the confidence to walk up to anybody, and strike a conversation. But there's a way you dress. And you just say, I know what, let me just stay in my corner. I don't want anybody to see me. Because somewhere it's like your confidence and everything is a bit low. So the way we, so what I'm just trying to say in essence is ensure that you put in effort into your appearance and how you look, because all of this also play a critical role in landing those opportunities, all right? So we are almost done. The God factor, the God factor, the God factor. I think I have just one more slide and then we are done. So in my line of work, I've been around for 7, 8 years in my career, and one thing stood out for me. And aside the fact that the skill set and all of that are there, what I would say would be that God has the God factor has played a significant role in my career up to date. Just that unusual favor, grace that you enjoy in the workplace or even in landing opportunities. I've seen it firsthand, play out in my career. And then when I'm speaking to young professionals, I like to tell them about the God factor. I'm going to share a very quick story, to stress this point. The second job I got, I told us about how I moved from Ibadan to Lagos. The second job I landed, moving from the first job I got, Rivertal, to Gemini Consulting, where I started my proper HR journey. Trust me, it was an opportunity that till tomorrow, I don't know how I got it. Now, the managing partner at the time, she had concluded the recruitment process, right? She had gotten a candidate, a lady, by the way, and then she had prepared an offer letter for this lady. But then I think she was just going through the job site one of these days, and then she discovered that somebody also dropped a CV for the same role. And that CV happens to be my CV. And she was like, no, guys, let's reach out to this guy. She has concluded the process already, so there was no point for her to even call me for an interview. But then she went ahead, called me for an interview, and then, I did the interview. To be very honest, I don't even know if what I said was enough to even get the job, right? But eventually, she gave me the job. And then I think about 5, 6 years into the job, she sat me down one day and she was like, Damilare, do you know why I gave you this job? I said, man, to be very honest, I don't know why I gave you the job. I'm not sure I said anything that was so impressive, to have landed the job. She was like, I just had a check in my spirit that you are the right person for the job. Like everything just points to you that I should give you the offer letter. So what I did was that I had gotten somebody for this role, a lady by the way. So what we did was we were about to extend an offer letter to her, but then we rescinded it. We changed our name from the offer letter. We added your name to it, and then we sent the offer letter to you. But somewhere, I just knew that you were meant to get this job. And when she shared that story with me, I don't know, for some reason, I went back home that evening and I was just like, wow, what just happened? So this is not the only story. I remember so I moved to Joberman from there, and then from there I got an offer with Deloitte, here in Nigeria. I mean, here in Lagos. And it was a similar story. So I had a chat with the head of people and purpose for Deloitte West Africa, right? In fact, it was a day event, a day interview. I had a chat with the head of people and purpose for Deloitte West Africa, covering Nigeria and Ghana. And then I also had a chat with the partner, the group partner, that same day. And then I had those interviews. These were long stretch interviews. So for me, when I'm going for interviews, I tend to just lose appetite for food. So you can imagine going for an interview and you've not eaten anything, maybe just water. And then you've been doing the interview for about 3 hours. It was so rigorous. Like I left Deloitte that day. If you know Deloitte building at Civic Towers in VI, I left feeling so empty, like these people practically sap all the energy in my body. I left feeling so light and empty, like, God, what's this? But then, guess what? I got the offer letter. A few months into the job, the head of people and purpose called me into her office. And she was like, Dammy, do you know why you got this job? I'm like, Matt, to be very honest, I'm not sure I know why I got the job. By the way, there was a particular guy that applied for the same role. This was somebody that, in fact, is one of those HR influencers that, frequently post stuff on LinkedIn. So looking at the guy alone, I'm like, guy, I don't think I stand any chance. This guy, everybody knows this guy now. He's always coming up with stuff, dropping wisdom on LinkedIn and all of that. This guy will easily get a job, right? But she told me that, you know what? There's just something about you that I can't explain, right? I went back home that night. That's the head of people and purpose talking to me. And then she said all through that evening, she just had a strong impression that I should be given that opportunity, right? That this opportunity belongs to Damilare. So these are two instances that has happened in my career. And then something similar also happened when I was leaving from Deloitte to First Bank. There's just this unusual favor that I get, during interviews. Of course, you might want to say, oh, you're an experienced person, you're bopping us, but that is not enough. I've sat in different interviews where candidates were exceptional, as in they know the job to the T. By the end of the day, they didn't get a job, they didn't get the opportunity, right? So I knew right there and there that, guy, it is good to have all the extra certification, it is good to acquire all the skill set, but there's actually a God, that oversees all of this. And what I'm just trying to say in essence is, while it is good for you to acquire those skills, get the certification, leverage on networks and all of that, it's also important that you commit everything into God's hands. All right. Just trust God to take over. Trust God, to grant you favor, in that next interview. For every interview that I go for, I commit it into God's hands. I pray to God about it. Right. So if you're a Christian on this call, if you're a Muslim on this call, I expect you to do the same. So don't just leave it to chances that if I get it, if I don't get it, okay. Trust me, the God factor cannot be underplayed. It has worked in my career so far, and that is why I'm sharing this with you. All right. So, conclusion and key takeaways. Intentional positioning works. We've established this point. Personal branding is essential. Volunteering and proactive involvement is critical. Networking with purpose is very, very essential. Continuous self-improvement is something you can't do without. And finally, the God factor matters. So, guys, thank you so much for listening in. I think I've spent roughly more than an hour, taking this session. It's been a delight and a privilege to anchor this session. So I think I'll just hand over to the coordinator. Thank you for having me. So I don't know if we have few Q&A questions to quickly attend to. Thank you.
Thank you so much, sir. Round of applause for him. Make sure you leave reactions on the chat. There's a link in the Q&A section where you can share your career stories. I know our time is fast spent, but I think we can take one question or two. If we have anyone with a question, you can just raise your hand and you'll be allowed to speak. However, if we do not, I just, go on. Thank you so much. I like that the session was so, actionable. And I know that all our participants have caught these, practical keys to positioning themselves intentionally in their career journeys. And yeah, thank you so, so much, sir. It's been an amazing, amazing time, at today's session. And while we've heard these two powerful sessions, the summit is all about you, our participants. So by all means, make sure you're here back tomorrow. Share your career stories in the chat, drop your questions. And yeah, I'll move on to our convener if she has anything to add or anything to say before we close for today.
All right. Thank you so much. Thank you, Mr. Damilare. Thank you for, taking out this time to share with us your experience, your knowledge. We are very, very delighted to have you, and we learned a lot that we know that would, help us long term. Thank you so much. Thank you. Thank you. Yes. Yes. So tomorrow's session is a panel. We have a panel session, and then we have another speaker, the managing director of Mega Capital Group. Let's be in attendance. We'll have a lot to learn. But I'll let Emem, go on about that. But we should be in attendance tomorrow. We have a lot to learn. Yes. So I think, yeah, I think that's all I have to say for now. Thank you.
All right, guys, thank you so much for having me. So I guess I will be signing out just right now. So thank you once again, everyone, and enjoy the session, and then also enjoy the session coming up tomorrow. So bye for now, and Chigeme, thank you so much for the
Sure.
opportunity. Take care. Bye.
Bye.
Awesome. See you tomorrow.